The girl carefully picked up the glass of water, but she was too nervous. The glass slipped and hit the floor. Instinctively, the girl glanced at the woman beside her. She threw her hands up to shield her head. She was sure the woman was about to hit her. The woman didn't move. The girl let out a breath of relief. She quickly apologized.
잘못했습니다.
The woman, a little annoyed, told her to hurry up, finish eating, and go. That's when she noticed the bruises on the girl's arm. Just then, the girl's stepmother showed up looking for her. The girl immediately ducked behind the woman. Gripping her hand tight, the stepmother put on an apologetic face, said apologetically, "Sorry, I didn't watch her properly," and that she'd take her straight home. The woman caught the pleading look in the girl's eyes. She had a feeling something was wrong, but she didn't want to get involved. She pulled her hand free and walked away. That night, the woman couldn't sleep no matter what. She had no idea that the girl's situation was far worse than she imagined. The girl's name was Emma. She didn't even have a room of her own. Her stepmother kept her locked in the bathroom, in front of other people. The stepmother acted sweet and gentle, but at home, she beat Emma constantly. Every time she did, she'd go to church afterward to confess. One day, the stepmother got a notice from social services that Emma's benefits had been cut off. That meant one more mouth to feed with no help coming in. When she got home, she looked at her husband, who did nothing all day but sit around, and her resentment boiled over. She stormed into the bathroom and screamed at Emma, saying the sight of her made her sick. The husband just sat there, not seeming to care about any of it. The next day, the woman ran into Emma again. She was still dressed too thin for the weather, but now there were even more bruises on her. Looking at the marks on Emma's hands, the woman couldn't hold back her tears. She asked Emma if Linda had done this to her. Emma said no. That only made the woman feel worse. She knew that a child beaten into fear would rarely tell the truth, because speaking up only meant more beatings. Afterward, the woman took Emma to the mall and bought her some warm clothes, then bandaged the cuts on her fingers. Next, she took her out to eat. Over the meal, Emma told the woman that every time her stepmother hit her, she'd hand her a little money afterward to buy food. The woman decided to take Emma to the police, but once they reached the station, Emma told her she'd already gone to the police on her own before. The officers had just driven her back home and given her parents a verbal warning. The moment they left, she'd been locked back in the bathroom. The woman gave up on the idea. She took Emma to an amusement park instead. Emma was curious about everything around her, but she didn't ride a single thing. She just stood quietly by the water, watching the ocean and the seagulls flying free. That freedom was all she really wanted. That evening, the woman drove Emma home. Before they'd even reached the stairs, Emma's father suddenly snapped and yanked her into the house. The woman rushed in and shielded her. Linda was inside too. This time she dropped the act and lunged forward to attack, but the woman blocked her. Linda snapped, "If you don't want to take responsibility for her, then stay out of it. And if you really want her, bring $100 million and buy her from us." The fight spilled all the way to the police station. A female officer examined Emma's injuries. Linda put on her gentle act, claiming Emma had a bad habit of picking at her own fingers. But what about the bruises on her legs? Emma instinctively glanced at Linda. Linda shot her a warning look. So Emma said she'd just fallen down. The woman knew Emma was too scared to tell the truth, but without solid evidence, the police said they could only handle it as a private mediation. Linda wasn't done, though. She accused the woman of barging into their home uninvited and trying to take the child. Hearing that, the officer asked the woman for ID. A quick check turned up a criminal record, attempted murder. Just then, a man walked in and took the woman home. His name was Mark. He was a police officer, and the two of them were close. Mark looked out for her all the time and had even proposed to her once, but she'd turned him down. She didn't think someone like her deserved to be anyone's wife, let alone a mother. She was planning to leave the city for good. Meanwhile, Emma had been tied up out on the balcony, thirsty and exhausted. She finally managed to crawl over to a pipe, hoping for a sip of water, but her father stopped her. Emma looked at him in terror, apologizing over and over. Suddenly he exploded, saying he never wanted her in the first place. It was Emma's mother who'd insisted on having her, then vanished right after she was born. That was why he'd always hated her. He even said he wished she'd just disappear, so she'd stop being a burden. The moment he finished, he lost it completely and lunged at her. Emma trembled in fear, completely overwhelmed by despair. Right then, the doorbell rang, saving her life. It was the woman at the door. She'd wanted one last look at Emma before she left town, but by then, Emma's father had already locked her in the bathroom. She heard the woman calling her name, but was too scared to answer. Mark called, urging her to hurry, and when no answer came, the woman left, weighed down with regret. A long while later, Emma quietly climbed up to the window and watched the woman walking away. She wanted so badly to call out, but couldn't bring herself to make a sound. Sitting in Mark's car, the woman couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She told him to pull over. Meanwhile, Emma had decided to run. She carefully climbed out through the window, gripping tight to the sill. hanging there outside, but she had nothing left in her. Her grip slipped, and she fell. The woman came around the corner into the alley and found Emma lying on the ground. So thin, so helpless, she had never once felt loved by her own parents. The only person who'd ever made her feel even a flicker of warmth was the woman standing there, eyes brimming with tears. The woman rushed over and pulled her into a hug. In that moment, for the first time, she felt like she truly wanted to be a mother. She took Emma to a hotel and ran her a bath, but Emma stood frozen at the bathroom door, fear written all over her face. She was terrified of being alone in there. The woman understood right away. She took off her own shirt and got in the bath with her. That's when Emma noticed the scars on the woman's back, scars left by her own mother. The two of them, it turned out, shared a similar past. Emma wrapped her arms gently around her and said,
나도 지켜줄게요.
The woman decided to take Emma and leave the city. She called Mark. He was the person she owed the most, and she felt guilty for letting him down. But Mark had another truth to tell her. 20 years earlier, the woman's father had abandoned her and her mother. Her mother sank into depression because of it, and from then on, drank every single day. When she was drunk, she'd hurt her own daughter. That's where the scars on the woman's back had come from. But every time her mother sobered up, she was consumed with regret. To make sure she'd never hurt her daughter again, she'd turned herself in to the police. Over the years, her mother had funneled all the hatred she felt for the husband who left her onto her daughter instead, completely unable to control herself. In the end, she'd had no choice but to send the woman to an orphanage. Growing up without love, the woman had grown cold and guarded. Hearing all this, even though she still hated her mother, she couldn't stop the tears. Meanwhile, Emma's father realized she was gone. He panicked, not knowing what to do, but Linda was calculating, afraid a medical exam would prove the abuse and land them both in prison. She told him to report it to the police first and framed the woman for kidnapping. When officers came to the house, they found not a single toy anywhere. Nothing that looked like a child actually lived there. When asked how tall his daughter was, the father couldn't answer, just vaguely gesturing with his hand. By then, the woman had already brought Emma to the docks. Luckily, Mark got there in time. If she'd actually taken Emma away, it would have sealed a kidnapping charge against her. Mark had the two of them stay at his sister's place for the time being. When his sister saw the marks on Emma's back, she gasped and covered her eyes, unable to imagine what the girl had been through. Mark told the woman that until he had solid evidence, she should stay put and lie low, not going anywhere. Mark went to confront Emma's father. Once he learned the truth, he was furious. A neighbor happened to mention seeing a child hanging outside a wall the night before. Mark pulled the dashcam footage from the neighbor's car. It showed clearly that Emma had escaped entirely on her own. He confronted the father directly. The man tried to run, but Mark tackled him to the ground and took him in. Mark laid out all the photos he'd taken of Emma's injuries right in front of him. Those photos alone were more than enough to convict him, but Linda was still out there.